Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Fakhr Lodi and this is our 38th lecture of Corel Methods for Software Engineering. For the past few lectures, we have been discussing Z specifications. And in the last lecture, we started to discuss the process of refinement. This refinement is a very important process, as we discussed last time also. The basic idea here is that we take our abstract specifications, which are relatively speaking vague, and we remove this degree of uncertainty, some degree of uncertainty from these specifications. And by removing this degree of uncertainty from these high-level, vague, abstract specifications, we bring them closer to our ultimate objective, that is the executable code. So, through this process of refinement, in each step, we remove this uncertainty, some uncertainty from these specifications, and every step takes us closer to our ultimate objective, where we can perhaps compile and execute these specifications. When we start, our high-level abstract specifications that we started with, they are, as I mentioned earlier, they are quite abstract and vague. This abstraction and vagueness, although what we are talking about is what here, so since we are only saying what is to be done, not telling how something is to be implemented, so when we only talk about what, there are many different ways of implementing something. This process of refinement eliminates some of the options that we have. And basically what we are saying is we have lots of maneuverability in our original abstract level specifications. So we have these vague specifications, abstract specifications. You can actually implement what is written there in many different ways. So, those implementation choices are open. So what we do is, that means, the same thing can be achieved in many different ways. When we have the executable code, we have a specific implementation. What we have is, we say, okay, now that particular requirement is achieved in this particular manner. This is the concrete formalization of that abstract concept. So what we do is, we take the high-level abstract requirements and we remove some degree of uncertainty from those abstract requirements. As we add detail, that means, we are giving this information and we are now talking about some more specific things rather than talking about things in general. So when you add details to your original specifications, that means you are sort of removing the degree of uncertainty. You are limiting yourself by taking some of the choices out. You are saying, okay, now I've taken this particular path for this implementation and I'll follow this path. So the other options, they are no longer available. This is what refinement is. So what you do is, you keep on refining your specifications one step at a time until we reach a point where we can actually implement it. There is no ambiguity in what we want to do. Now, this process of refinement requires that, whenever we take a refinement step, we make sure that this refinement step does not violate anything that we have specified earlier on. That is, our specifications, the overall concept or the contract that we have given, that cannot be violated. Those conditions have to be fulfilled. It is the same condition that will keep. So a refinement step refines the original specifications or a subsequent schema or specification, but in the process we do not forget our old specifications. What we have here is, we have a step that contains the information that we originally gave, so it is aligned with our original specification. This is what refinement is all about. So we cannot really refine a specification into something which does not fulfill my original condition. जो मैंने predicates वहां पर लिखे थे, those predicates, they have to be obeyed, and I can work within those constraints only. Now the question is, when I take that refinement step, how do I know that this is a correct refinement and this is a consistent requirement? It has to be consistent with my previous specification, and it has to be correct. And both these things I need to worry about, and I need to make sure. And my refinement step will be useful only if it fulfills both these things. That is, it is consistent with my original contract, with my original specification, and also it is correct. So last time we started to discuss the process of refinement and the mathematical formulation for this refinement, so that we can say that the refinement that we have got is a consistent requirement. So what makes a requirement consistent? And we started to discuss the concept of totalization. In totalization, what happens is that, if we have a domain and our map, a specification, a function is a map which maps the values in the domain to the values in the range. Remember, our Z schemas, they are based upon the state space concept. So I have my state space here, and I want to map it to the values that are present in the range. Now what happens in that particular case is that if my range, if my domain is complete, that is, I have a method, I have a mapping for all the values, all the instances in my domain. There is a map that tells me, okay, if I take this instance and apply this function, apply this map, I will get this value in the range. Then the process is, relatively speaking, very simple. What I do is, if I have one value in the domain mapped onto two different values in the range, in that particular case, I take one choice out depending upon whatever criteria, and that means, if I have only one value from my domain to the range, that means I have removed 1 degree of uncertainty. Now I know if I use this particular instance in my domain, I will get this particular instance in my range. Previously, if I use this particular instance in my domain, I could get this particular instance or that value in my domain. So I have taken one of these out, and I have no uncertainty here. So in that particular case, it is, relatively speaking, a straightforward process. On the other hand, when I do not have complete domain used, all the instances that are possible in my domain, they are mapped onto some value in the range. That means some of the values in my domain, they have not been assigned a map or a corresponding value in my range. That means I have a problem. That is, whenever I apply this method, this function which represents this map between the domain and the range, if I use one of those values for which the map has not been defined, what should I get? So that is where I have a problem. And that is the concept that I need to sort of talk about and address before I can talk about the refinement. So when I do not have a total function, then I need to do this process, what is called totalization. In totalization, last time we started to talk about totalization, we said that we will use a special symbol, and this special symbol we use inverted T. In mathematics, it is also used for perpendicular, it is also used for bottom elements, so and so forth. So it is the same symbol that we are using here. So this inverted T symbol, basically we are using this to define undefinedness. That is, this is the symbol that we will use to say that this thing is not defined. This is a special value, and this is part of our domain. This is also part of our range. And whenever we have some undefined kind of thing, then we will use this special value to signify that our result is not defined. And I mentioned this thing that it's basically the same concept that we used in the case of our algebraic specifications, where we said this undef is a member of this set that we are using here. So that is what we talked about last time, and I will take you from there once again. So let me go back to the definition of totalization that I showed you last time, and we will continue our discussion from that point onward. So let us go back onto the slide and once again look at that definition. So this totalization is, we say, in order to define refinement for partial relations, we consider their totalized forms. So we have a partial relation rho. Its totalized form rho dot is equal to rho union with, we have x which belongs to x inverted t, and y belongs to y inverted t, where x is not a member of domain of rho, where we have had this map from x to y. So all those elements, what we are saying here is that rho dot we will define a map for all those elements in x for which we have not defined a map in this row. So rho does not have a mapping from x to y, and our x inverted t is equal to x union this special element inverted t, and y inverted t is equal to y union this special element inverted t. Now what does that mean? What we have done is we have taken this x and y and we have augmented x and y with inverted t. So added one more element, and this is one special element denoting undefinedness. So this is what we have done. As a first step, we have defined this, we have added this extra element to both x and y, where x is the domain and y is the range. we have defined this, added this one extra element there to both of these, and we are saying that this row dot, if row was the original function, the row dot, that is the totalized function, totalized relation, is equal to all the elements. We take whatever was there in row, so that relation is there, plus, that is union, add all those relations, all those maps from the remaining elements. That is, for example, if I had A, B, and C in my domain, and I had used only A and B, and C was not used in the relation from X to Y, from domain to range, then all the elements that are left, that is C and this new element, that is inverted T, I take these two elements and then I define a map from C to A, C to B, and C to inverted T, and then inverted T to A, inverted T to B, inverted T to inverted T. That is, all the elements that have not been used previously, they are mapped onto all the elements on the range. So this is what my totalization is. Let us look at this slide and let us have this complete picture. That is what I have just told you. This is exactly what we get. So let me show you with the help of a slide. So we have this, let's assume that we have this set of symbols A, B, C, and D, and row is defined as A mapped onto A mapped onto B, B mapped onto B, and B mapped onto C. So that means in our domain, C and D have not been used. So what we need to do is we need to totalize it. So row dot will be equal to whatever we had in row, that is A mapped onto A, then A mapped onto B, B mapped onto B, and B mapped onto C. So these four mappings, or these four elements in this set, they have been taken from our original map, original relation row. Now C and D, they were not used. So what we do is we add another symbol, inverted T, into our domain. So we now have 5 symbols, A, B, C, and D. Now C will be mapped to this inverted T, C will be mapped to A, C will be mapped to B, C will be mapped to C, and C will be mapped to D. Similarly, we have the same mapping for D, that is D is mapped to inverted T, D is mapped to A, D is mapped to B, D is mapped to C, D is mapped to D, and this inverted T is mapped to inverted T is mapped to A, B, C, and D. So what we have is we get this new picture. So the solid lines, they represent the original relation, and the dotted line, they are added when we did the totalization. So what we have done here is simply added one more element to the set in our domain as well as in our range, and then we looked at all the elements which were not used and provided a redundant mapping. That is, you just think about it. We said that in the original relation row, we had only specified the map from A and B, A to something and B to something, maybe one, maybe more than one. So maybe there was some vagueness, uncertainty, but we had a number of choices going from A to some value in the range and going from B to some value in the range. Now, if we had C, for example, I am using composition. So I have this function A and then this followed by this function rho, and function A gives me, so it is a composition, so function A gives me C, and then I have to apply this relation rho on my element C. Now this map was not defined originally. So obviously, I have a problem. So one way to resolve this thing is that, I say, okay, when it is not defined, then it could be any. That is, could be A, B, C, or D. Similarly, for C, it was not defined, so it could be any. All what we have done is we have added one extra symbol, inverted T, and we will be using that symbol. So ultimately, what we will do is we will remove all these relations, all these entries into this relation that go to this element which is defined already, that is not inverted T, that is either A, B, C, or D. So it will basically, what we will be doing is we will be saying that whenever we get these two, that is C or D, we will map it onto undefinedness. And if undefinedness is defined, is made part of the range or domain, we can keep working on that set. Otherwise, at runtime, we will have a problem. We will have an error, and we will not know what to do when that happens. So the first step towards refinement is that whenever we have a partial relation, we convert that partial relation into a total relation by applying totalization. Once we have that, then we are ready to define a correct refinement which is consistent. So now what do we need to do? Let's go back onto the slide and look at the formulation there. So having decided upon totalizing using inverted T, we may derive the condition for one partial relation to be a correct refinement of another. Now if sigma and rho are two partial relations of the same type, then sigma refines rho precisely when sigma dot is a subset of rho dot. This is true if and only if the domain of sigma is at least as big as that of rho and sigma agrees with rho on domain of rho. Let us look at an example here. We have this relation rho which is defined as A to A, A to B, B to B, and B to C. And we have the relation sigma which is A to A, B to B, B to C, and C to C. Remember, our symbols that we needed to use were A, B, C, and D. Now this domain of sigma is equal to A, B, and C. All three of these, they are being used in sigma. Whereas domain of rho is only A and B. So that means domain of rho is a subset of domain of sigma. So what we do is, in order to refine, we reduce the domain of sigma to domain of rho, and we take whatever is left in our relation sigma. So when we reduce the domain from ABC to just AB in our relation sigma, we have A to A, B to B, and B to C. and that is, as you can see, is a subset of rho. So what we need to do is, now what we have done really is, we have these two relations, rho and sigma, and we wanted to take a refinement step. Both of these relations, they were partial relations, they were not total relations, and we have not yet performed totalization. So in this particular case, what we did was, in order to refine a relation to another relation, we see, what is in its domain. So in the case of sigma, we were using 3 symbols in the domain, and in the case of rho, we were using only 2 symbols. So first step was that, we took the third symbol out. We reduced the domain to the domain of sigma to the domain of rho, and we used only those symbols that were present in the domain of rho. अच्छा, यहाँ पर we had 2 symbols, A and B. हमने A and B से जितने relation define किया हुआ, जितनी mappings define की हुई हैं, we took that subset. In that subset, we see if that subset is a subset of the relation for that relation rho that we have defined earlier. And if that happens, if that is the case that we get, that means sigma is a refinement of rho. In this particular case, this is a refinement of that, because now this has all the relations, all the mappings, all those mapping is conformant to the map defined in rho. So that means there is no relation, which is no map, which is outside that definition. So that means it is a consistent refinement. This is, relatively speaking, a more involved concept, not a trivial concept. So you may need to look at it once again to really understand what it is. But the basic idea here is that you reduce the relation, and when you reduce the relation, that means you take some of the mappings out. And when you take some of the mappings out, that means you are removing some degree of uncertainty. And when you remove some degree of uncertainty, that means you are refining it, but we have to make sure that it is a consistent refinement. Let us look at another example, and that will show you what is not a consistent refinement, what is not a proper refinement. So let us look at this example on the slide, and then we will discuss that example. We have this relation rho, which is from A to A and A to B and B to B and B to C. And we have this relation tau, which is A to A and C to C. Now, is it a refinement? Let us see. Domain of rho is equal to A and B, and domain of tau is equal to A and C. So as a first step, since domain of tau is not a subset of domain of rho, it is not a proper refinement. So in order to have a proper refinement, what we are saying here is all the elements in that domain, they need to be present in the refinement also. So जो आपके पास एलिमेंट्स थे, जिसके लिए आपने रिलेशन डिफाइन किया हुआ था, जिसके लिए आपने मैप डिफाइन किया हुआ था, उनमें से कोई एलिमेंट मिस नहीं होना चाहिए. because if something is missing, if it is not a subset, if it is something else, that means you would be missing something from our original specification. Now, if you have a proper refinement, then if you totalize it, what do we get? And let us look at our previous example where we reduced the domain and then we saw that it was a proper refinement. Now we go back and look at the totalization there and then see what happens. Remember, our row dot was A to A to B, B to B, B to C. This was our original relation row. And then we added maps from C, D, and inverted T to all the elements in the range, that is A, B, C, and D. So we had another 12 mappings defined when we did this row dot. Now our sigma dot becomes A to A, B to B, B to C, C to C. That was our sigma. D is not used, so we take D and inverted T and we define a map from D to all the elements, that is A, B, C, D, and inverted T, and inverted T to all the elements A, B, C, D, and inverted T. So the sigma dot is equal to A to A, B to B, B to C, C to C, D to inverted D, inverted T, D to A, D to B, D to C, D to D, inverted T to inverted T, inverted T to A, inverted T to B, inverted T to C, inverted T to D, which, as you can see, is a subset of row dot. And remember, if sigma and rho are two partial relations of the same type, then sigma refines rho precisely when sigma dot is a subset of rho dot. That is, जब उसको totalize किया, so that should be a subset of that. And we saw that in that particular case, we did have sigma dot as a subset of rho dot. So what we have done here, we have seen a couple of things. In order to see if something is a proper refinement, is a consistent refinement, the first step that we do is we reduce the domain to the domain of our original relation. So we had a relation and we reduce it to the domain of that to the domain of our original relation. And we see if that is a subset of the other or not. If it is not a subset, that means, that relation will not provide the refinement. If it is a subset, then the next step is that we take the relations that we have defined, and then we say, can we find a subset which is subset of the original relation that we are trying to refine? So if we get a subset of the maps from the original relation, then we say this is a proper refinement. And like we said in the definition, that it will be only if your new relation that is a refinement of your original relation, the totalized form of that is a subset of the totalized form of the original relation. And you see that in that particular case, you did get that subset. So if you get that subset, then it is a proper refinement. Let us look at an example and see how this principle is applied. Now, we define a schema, and this schema is called a corruption. We have a sequence of bits, zeros and ones, and we say that we may corrupt a single bit, and corruption means that changing the value of the bit from 0 to 1 and 1 to 0. So this is what corruption is. Now the relation corrupts to associates two sequences of bits if the second is no longer than the first and no two adjacent bits have been corrupted. So we define a relation corrupts to, and this relation corrupts to says that it is a proper relation, and we say one sequence has been corrupted to, or one sequence, it corrupts to the second sequence. It is associated when the two sequence of bits, the first one has more bits in it, at least the same number of bits that the second one has, that is the corrupted one has, and no two adjacent bits have been corrupted. That is, no two adjacent bits have been changed from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. So the schema for that is we have this corrupts to, which takes two arguments. This underscore is the placeholder for an argument, the left one and the right one. So this is the same kind of notation, infix notation, that we have seen earlier in our algebraic specification. So it is very, very similar. So we say a sequence of bits is equivalent to another sequence of bits. So these are related. And we say this happens when for every bit sequence, we have a new bit sequence, that is bit sequence dash is a sequence of bits where BS corrupts to BS dash. That is, original bit sequence is corrupted to the new bit sequence. That is equivalent to, number one, that the number of bits in the corrupted sequence have to be less than or equal to the number of bits in the original sequence. So number of bits in the second sequence is less than equal to the number of bits in the first sequence. And no two adjacent bits have been corrupted. So we say for every I in 1 to number of bits in the second sequence minus 1, we have the ith bit in original bit sequence is not equal to the ith bit in the new bit sequence, implies the next bit, that is the I plus first bit in the original bit sequence, is equal to the I plus first bit on the corrupted bit sequence. That is, if one bit has been corrupted, the next bit is going to be same. No two adjacent bits have been corrupted. So what we have done here, I mean, what we are trying to do is we are saying, we start with one bit sequence and we get another bit sequence, and we say that these two bit sequence would be associated, would be, related if, first of all, the second bit sequence does not have more bits than the first bit sequence. That is the first condition. And the second condition is that, starting from any point, the bits in the first sequence, they can be mapped onto the second sequence, or bits in the second sequence can be mapped onto the bits in the first sequence, with the condition that if there is a change somewhere, then the next bit cannot be different. The next bit has to be same. If that happens, then the two bit sequences would be related, otherwise they would not be related. So let us look at some examples where we say that these two bit sequences, they are related. The first example is the original bit sequence is 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, and 1. And the second bit sequence that we get after the operation has been applied, we get 1 0 1 0 0 1. Now the question is it a legal association, or the relationship is defined here in this particular case or not? First thing that we need to check is the number of bits in each sequence. So the number of bits in the first sequence are 6, and the number of bits in the second sequence, they are 6, and hence the first condition is fulfilled. The second thing is, we try to map bits from the second sequence onto the bits in the first sequence. So the first bit in the second sequence is 1. It is mapped onto the first bit on the first sequence, 1. Second is 0. The third one is 1. The third there is 0. So that means there is corruption here. When there is corruption, we say it will be related as long as we do not have two adjacent bits which are different. So we look at the next bit. The next bit of the second sequence is 0, and the next bit of the first sequence is 0. So hence we are okay. The next bit in the second sequence is 0, and the next bit in the first sequence is 1. So once again there is corruption. So once again we look at the next bit. In both these cases, the two bits that we have, both of them, these are 1 and 1. So they are the same, and hence we say that these two strings, bit strings, they are related through this relation. Now we have the second sequence. In this particular case, we have 1 1 0 1 1 1 0 0, and the second bit sequence that we get is 0 1 0 0 1. Are these two related? The first thing that we need to check is, we need to check the number of bits in the second sequence. We have 5 bits in the second sequence, and we have 8 bits in the first sequence. So first condition is fulfilled. The number of bits in the second sequence have to be less than or equal to the number of bits in the first sequence. Now we have to check whether the other condition is fulfilled. So the first bit is 0 in the second sequence. The first bit is 1 in the first sequence, so there is corruption. We look at the second bit. The second bit is 1 and 1, so they map, fine. The third bit is 0 and 0, that is fine. The fourth bit is 0 and 1, once again corruption. And the fifth bit is 1 and 1, which is the same. Hence we say that this sequence is fine. So in this particular case, we saw this very simple relation in which we say, whether it is a corrupted form of the first sequence or not. So is there a relationship? और वो रिलेशनशिप हमने ये किस तरीके से की थी कि नंबर ऑफ बिट्स बढ़े ना ओरिजिनल से, और कंसेक्टिव बिट्स 2 से ज़्यादा, 1 से ज़्यादा, या कंसेक्टिव बिट्स जो 2 हैं वो चेंज ना हो. Now that means, two consecutive bits could be any. It could be first and second. We could corrupt the second bit and not the third bit. We could corrupt the fifth bit and not the sixth bit. We could corrupt the 10th bit and not the 11th, and so on and so forth. कौन सी bit corrupt हो और कौन सी नहीं हो, किसको हमने check करना है, किसको नहीं करना. There is a lot of undeterminism here. So let us refine this relation with another relation which is changes to. And in this particular case, what we are going to do is, we will keep the first condition the same, that is, this relation, new relation, that is changes to. In the second bit sequence, the number of bits are not going to be greater than the bits in the first sequence. But what we are going to have now is, we are going to say that every odd bit is corrupted. That is, first bit is different, the third bit is different, the fifth bit is different, and seventh bit is different, and so on and so forth. Note one thing here, that we are still within our original definition. कि हम दो कंसेक्टिव बिट्स को हम चेंज नहीं कर रहे, हमारी लेंथ बढ़ नहीं रही, और दो कंसेक्टिव बिट्स को चेंज नहीं कर रहे. बट in this particular case, what we have done is we have taken the non-determinism out. We are saying जो bit change होगी और बल्कि actually होगी, we are saying कि ये होनी चाहिए, that will be the odd number bit and that will maintain our original condition. So let us look at this schema. Once again, very simple schema. I don't need to go into the detail and discuss this. What does that mean? I've already shown, but that will show you what kind of refinements can we have. So here we have this changes to, it takes two arguments. Once again, we say for every bit sequence, we have a new bit sequence BS and BS dash, and BS changes to BS dash is equivalent to saying the number of bits in the second sequence or modified sequence is less than or equal to the number of bits in the first sequence. And we are saying that the odd number bit is modified. That is for all I and 1 to the number of bits in bit sequence, the second bit sequence minus 1. I is a member of n, where n is a natural number n1, and it is 2n. That is when we have an even numbered bit, that we say the ith bit in the first sequence is equal to the ith bit in the second sequence. And when it is an odd number, that is 2n plus 1, then the ith bit in the first sequence is not equal to the ith bit in the second sequence. And here are these two examples. I have 1 1 0 1 1 1 0 0, which changes to 0 1 1 1 and 0. So as you can see, the first bit is 1, in the second sequence it is 0, third bit is 0, and in the second sequence it is 1, and the fifth bit is 1, and in the second sequence it is 0. The rest of the bits, they are the same. And again, we have another example. The original sequence was 1 0 0 0 1 1, and it changes to 0 0 1 0 0 1. And once again, you can see that the odd number bits, they are different, and the even number bits, they are the same. So we say that the second relation is a refinement of the first. Both are total relations on sequence bits, and changes to resolves all of the non-determinism present in the definition of Crupts2. And if we are content with the behavior of Crupts2, then we will be content with the behavior of changes2. So in this particular case, we have seen a refinement. ये refinement एक इसमें चीज थी जो आपको ज़हन में रहनी चाहिए, and that was that our relation was total relation. There were only two symbols, 0 and 1, and the relation was defined for that. So the relation itself was a total relation, so we did not have a problem for that Crupt relation. So अगर ये partial relation होता तो हम इसको total बनाते, totalization इस पे apply करते, and then we would have done this thing. Since it was already a total relation, so we did not need to add that extra symbol that is inverted T here, because it was defined for all the elements, so we would always get an answer for a given element. But the important thing to note is that, the first relation said that, it will be an acceptable relation. The relationship between these two would be acceptable if, a certain condition was met. But for that certain condition, we could have any of the possible things. So what we did in that particular case was we applied a refinement, and that refinement was a definite refinement. That is, we said even number bits, they will be the same, odd number bits, they will be different. Now that refinement also qualifies as a corruption, as Crupts2, sequence B Crupts2, sequence A. So, that relation is also there, but there is no uncertainty. We know exactly which particular bit will be different and which particular bit will be the same. Now, as long as we are happy with our original definition, that is, as long as, anything that fulfilled that criteria, that is, the number of bits in the second sequence were less than the or equal to the number of bits in the first sequence, and no two consecutive bits were different. As long as we were happy with that, we should be happy with our new criteria. That is, we are saying which bit is same and which bit is different, and hence it is a proper refinement of our original concept. It is a consistent refinement of that. So the point here is that the refinement, once again, takes you closer to a determined, a definite solution, and that leads you to a final executable code. We shall be discussing this in our next lecture also. We will continue this discussion. Till that time, मुझे इजाज़त दीजिए. खुदा हाफिज़ और अस्सलाम वालेकुम.